Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's Software Success. I'm Ashley Jones, and as you guys know, I love my embroidery software. Could not live my embroidery life without it, and I love sharing my love of that software with all of you to help you get the most out of your programs. Now, Dime has tons of embroidery programs, and we cover lots of different features here on Software Success. And today, just like all others, we got some fun stuff for you. And we also try to incorporate everyone. So no matter what level you're at, we like to make sure that you are getting the most out of your software. And also, no matter which piece of embroidery software that you have, I like to try to show you different things that you could maybe do in your program, and no matter which one you have. So I try to incorporate a little bit of stuff that would go through a lot of our different programs. So if you are new here, again, this is Software Success. We talk all things software, and it's our Dime embroidery software that we use, our embroidery tool shed, and then all of the different components that make up that program. And last year, at the end of the year, I asked you guys for things that you'd like to learn. And today we're going to be talking about one of those topics that was suggested or requested. So we'll talk about that in just a bit. So, okay, as people are joining, we'll give just a few more minutes. I don't want to hold you guys up too long, but let's just say hi to everyone. Tell me where you're watching from. Say hi to everyone over in the chat. And hi, Eileen. Good to see you from Maryland. So, and so she said this is perfect for her current project. So that's fantastic. Good to hear that. Laura Parks, thank you for joining as always from cold Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm sure it is up there. So we're having cold weather, I think, all over the place for sure. So, and I appreciate your support. So she said that she almost forgot, but she likes to be here live, and I appreciate it. It's nice to be here live because you can ask questions and get answers. So Linda Johnson, so good to see you from around the Dallas area. And we got another cold and snowy Michigan. Thanks for being here, Bonnie. Good to see you. April Taylor. Glad to have you here from Australia. Marianne Duplagla, thanks for being here. And so very cold Ohio. It sounds like everybody's cold, right? Is that time of year. And then Jackie Burke, hello from upstate New York. Sun shining, but burr, it's cold. Yeah, I'm sure. Chile, Virginia, thanks for being here. Dawn from Creative Appliques. Caroline, good to see you as well. Kathy Sexton, and then Kathy Purdy as well. Thank you for being both of you here. I see Lois. Thanks for being here, Lois. Sharon. Glad to see you from Ohio also. So you guys might have some embroidery fins up there. So hi from snowy Alabama. Hold up, Deborah Tompkins, snowy Alabama. I'm from Alabama. There's so few times we have ever seen snow in Alabama. So you guys be safe for all you southern states that might be getting snow. And then Kathy from Boston. Thanks for being here, Kathy, as well. Sharon, Jackie, thanks for being here, Jackie Cheek. Good to see you as well. So lots of familiar names, and I think we've got some people that are new too. Sounds like everybody's cold and enjoying the warmth of the indoors. We also have a snowy Louisiana. I cannot believe this. So you guys be safe. So us southern states, we don't have the means to take care of the snow on the roads, nor are we experienced at driving in it. So make sure you guys be careful out there, all of you, no matter where you are. So okay, let's get into our topic for today. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about name drops for multiples. Now, the feature name drop is in only one of our Dime software, but I didn't want to leave you guys out if you don't have Perfect Embroidery Pro. So we're going to talk about how to create a bunch of files if you are making multiples to make it easier in other software as well. But at the end of the year, we had a request from a viewer to talk about mixing font styles. And so I'm actually going to show that today too, which will also incorporate several of our different pieces of software. So we've got lots of topics, not just the name drops on the multiples today. So we're going to be using text mixing and matching. And you guys know that I absolutely love bringing in an image of a product to design on top of it. I'm a visual person and it really helps me. Also, it can help make sure that the sizing of your design is correct. You can check if colors are going to show up on that kind or that color fabric. So we're going to talk about doing that today as well. And so that's our load backdrop feature. So that's what we're talking about. Now, another request that I had last year was to see some of these topics, actually as you stitch them out. So this week, Eileen and I have coordinated our topics. So I am here on Software Success talking about creating the design and saving your files. But then this Thursday, join Eileen, same time, 1 p.m. Central Time. And she's going to talk about the stitching process on multiples. So she's got tips for that, making the hooping process really quick. So we have coordinated our topics so that you will see the creation process of the design and get some tips on that part, but then also the stitching portion as well. So Eileen is our same YouTube and Facebook channel that we are here for Software Success. The Thursday program is called Between Friends. And so join her there for stitching multiples. Okay. So now let me head over to my software and let's get our topic started. Okay. So now ignore that. That's what we're going to be talking about next time. And I'm going to talk about doing multiples and a couple of different things. So the cute little jewelry bag that you saw in the picture, I'm going to show you how to create the design for that. But that design's a little more intricate. So it's actually one of the last things I'm going to show you. We're going to start simple first, and then we're going to build on a little bit more complicated design. Okay. So now I am going to start a new workspace. We're going to be creating multiple designs for like this gift tag that you see here. And so I'm going to start a new workspace, and let's talk about how to bring our image in the software. So we have lots of Dime software that has the ability to load a backdrop file. So under File and Load Backdrop, this allows you to select an image, and it'll open up in your software so that you can use it as, for design purposes as kind of a template. Now, I've taken a picture of my luggage tag, and I click, I find it, I locate it here on my computer, and I'm going to click open. Okay. Now, I want the name to actually read the other direction. So I'm going to rotate my image. So anytime, no matter what's on the screen, whatever you have selected, usually you have properties that relate to whatever's selected. Well, in this case, since this is a backdrop, nothing is selected. And I click over here in my tab for my backdrop properties. Okay. So I'm going to rotate this 180 degrees because I want my name to read this direction. Like in my mind, that's just kind of what I wanted. Now, if you prefer it to be the other way, so that it's reading this direction, you certainly can do that as well. That's entirely up to you. And now that I'm seeing this on screen, I actually think that this is what I really want. So we're going to leave it this way so that it's hanging off the bag. I'm reading from left to right this direction here. Okay. So first thing you do, anytime you're working with a backdrop, you want to make sure to define the scale of your image, because this image comes in at all different sizes, depends on how it was saved, where you got it from, but it comes in whatever size, and then you need to define that scale so that whenever we're designing on top of this image, that we're designing the right size for our item. Okay. And so to do that, I usually take my photograph on my cutting mat or something that is a measurement that I can actually calculate. So I could have actually just measured my tag here and put in that measurement, but I usually take a picture and then I don't have to remember. And I know these are 1-inch marks. Okay. So over here on the left-hand side where my cursor is blinking, there's a little fly out menu underneath. When you click that fly out menu, there's there's an option to define scale and the horizon. Now, I can actually tell that my image is a little crooked because we can see up here in the top my cutting mat lines. So let's define the horizon. That's something we don't do a ton. And that's going to allow us to straighten up our image. Okay. So now I could draw the lines here on my cutting mat if I wanted, but really it's not the lines on my cutting mat that I want straight. I really want the actual luggage tag straight. So I'm going to use that as my reference, and I'm going to use the stitches to help me. So I'm going to click, hold, and then I drag my mouse to the other side, and you can kind of very lightly see a blue line, and I'm lining that up with the area that I want. And in this case, I'm using the stitches on this to as my reference. And then I'm going to release, and you can see that it kind of straightened up my design just a smidge. Okay. And now I've got kind of a straight design, even though I didn't take a picture really straight. Okay. So now let's go back over here to our backdrop, and I'm going to define the scale now. So when I click define the scale, it's the same kind of process. You want to click and drag to another spot that you can define the measurement of. And so I use the points on my cutting mat for this. So I click and hold, then I drag my mouse to this second point, and then release, and then I enter in that is a 1-inch area. And when I click OK, you will see my image resized. Okay, so now that has been resized so that I have this particular luggage tag the right size to put my text is to scale. Okay, so now I'm going to double click to zoom in. So this is a shortcut. If you double click your zoom tool over here on the left, it'll just fit everything to your screen. Now, to make sure that we've got the defined scale right, if you want to double check, you can use your ruler tool, which is over here to the left. This measures actual size. I can click and drag, and you can see that that is a 1-inch area. So this is the scale is correct on this image. Okay, so now we want to put our text on here. So let's go up and select our text tool. We have quite a few Dime software that have the text tool built in. So what we've done so far is not specific to PEP. It actually encompasses quite a few of our Dime programs. Okay, so now let's add our text. So the first thing we do after we choose our text tool, click one time on the workspace and it'll put a single letter. And then over here, we're going to create our name. Now, when you're doing name drops, which is our kind of our main topic today, it's where we can make multiples of the same design or the same name style, and only have to stitch or load one file and stitch each of those names. So the first recommendation for you is I would start with your longest name, and you'll kind of understand a little bit more why in just a bit. So I'm going to do Christina and click apply. And now I'm going to move that over to see if it's going to fit on my luggage tag here. Now you can see that it's a little long, so I'm going to reduce the size. I could either shrink it slightly this way here, or I could reduce the entire font to a specific size here. So I'm going to do undo, and let's watch what happens separately here. So undo and undo to make it the normal size. Now over here, the height, that actually is proportional. So if I change this, just say to 0.7 instead of 0.79, it's going to resize everything proportional. And whereas I just kind of shrank in the end of it. So, and it looks like it might need to be a little bit smaller. So let's try 0.65 here of an inch. And that looks pretty good. Okay, so either one of those ways work, but what I'm doing is I'm just checking to make sure that my name is going to fit on this little flap of the luggage tag. Okay, so now I've got my name in place. Now let's talk about creating multiple names of the same size to fit in this area. So in Perfect Embroidery Pro, under Tools, there's a feature called Name Drops. So once you put one name on the screen, then you can select the name drops feature, and it actually brings up this program here. And I'm going to click reset because we're going to start with the name that's on the screen. And I am just going to put my name there. So Ashley, since that's what I put, I can't even, or Christina, I'm sorry, not my name, Christina. So Christina, and I'm going to click preview here so that it shows up here in this screen. So now by putting a name on the screen first, let me close this out. You're basically selecting the font type that you want to use. So if you select your font option and you want to change to, say, a different font style, and now whenever I click tools and name drop, you can see that this blackboard is what it has brought in for the type of name that we're going to use, okay, for the font style. So start with the name, and not only that, but it also maintains these sizes that we have set over here, even though it says line A and line B. That's what you're doing by starting with one name to begin with. So let's go back to our Christina. And I'm going to delete the line B. I just want one name, and then we can preview it, and that's how it looks. So now, if let's say we had to do 6 names for this luggage tag, or 4 or whatever, then you would enter each of your names in this list that you see here. So Christina, maybe we have a Lily, maybe we have a Gloria, because we've got Gloria's Bag of Tricks coming up on Thursday. And then maybe it's a Shelly. And then I'm just going to stop right there. But you would just type in all of the names that you want to put. Okay. And like I said, if you start with the longest one, then you know they're all going to fit. Now, if I click here and click preview, you can see that Lily is actually larger to fit my area because it's a shorter name, Gloria, and then Shelly. Okay, so now let's look at our options that we have here. So the fit to width method is none. That means that it's not going to maintain any specific size. But if we want everything to make sure that it's no wider than Christina, then we can say shrink and set what that size was. And if I look up here in my properties area, Christina was actually 2 3/4. So 2.75. And then now when we click preview, so let's go back and look at Christina. And then again, Lily is going to be bigger because it's fitting to that area. And then Gloria and Shelly. Okay. And now if you choose the scale, and that is going to make it as large as possible for the name. So like that text, not as large as possible, but it's going to make it, it's going to scale it to be in that area. So let's look at we're going to save it 2 different ways just to see our different methods here. And then you can, like I said, set that width to the size that you need. You could also measure your item as well. And then we've got create single file. You can either check it or not check it. And then we already talked about this is our font style. The decor, we'll see that come in just a bit. And then the alignment method really has to do if you've got another design on the screen. And then the decor is the design element that you're going to be lining up around. Okay, so let's say create a single file, and then I am going to click create and watch what happens. So it has piled all of my names on top of one another. And even though it's not lined up with my backdrop anymore, that's fine. What the program is doing, I'm going to hide my backdrop so it doesn't confuse us. What the program is doing is it is putting the names exactly in the center location. Okay, so here's Lily, here is Gloria, and Shelly. And so if I make each one of these, if I hide each one and turn one off and turn the next one on, you can see that we have each one of those. And that is using those properties that we have set here for each of those names, okay? And they are centered. Now, I'm sure you're all asking, why in the world would I want all these names piled up on top of each other? Well, let's say you have 5 of these to do. If you're not going to put multiples in the hoop and you're just going to hoop one, like let's say napkins, you're going to hoop a napkin and you're going to put one of these names on the corner. You could load this one file, and every time one name stops for you to put the other name in there, you don't have to load another file each time. So it'll just save you a little bit of time. Okay. So let's say you've got, 5 shirts to do and you've got to hoop each shirt individually. You can't put them all in the same hoop. Your machine would stop after each of these, especially if you've got different colors. So we could do our different colors here so that they stop. And so after the machine stitches one, so Christina and we've stitched that, say, on the left chest of a shirt, and then we are ready to stitch Lily. We load the next shirt, and then with the next color stop, you get it centered up and you press go. So you can have one file that you can load these designs without having to load every single file individually. And believe it or not, if you had, say, 100 team shirts to do, if you had to load 100 designs, that would take a lot more time. If you could just have them all piled up together in one file, and every time it was a color change, you put on a different shirt. Okay. And so then it's just going to make it stitch a little bit more efficiently. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense there. So commercial embroiderers do this sort of thing to save time with the files all in one, the names all in one file. So I'm using all my words and messing everything up with the terms. Okay. So let's undo. Now I know that might seem weird to some of you guys, and you do not have to save it all in one file. So let me open up the name drop feature again. Okay. And it remembers my names, which is nice. I don't have to type those in again. So now instead of create the file, let's save all of these in a different file. Okay. So I'm going to uncheck create a single file. And now when I click save, I'm only going to click save one time. I'm going to put this on our C Dime Designs folder, and I'm going to just call this a new folder, and let's call it Name Drop so that we can easily get back to it. Okay, so there's my Name Drop folder, and then we're going to call this our team names. I don't know what it is, but we just give it a name, and it's going to name each one individually. Now here, you want to choose the format for your embroidery machine. Click save, and it opens up the folder where it's saved. So let's look at them. So you can see that now each one is a separate file. So you're ready to stitch Christina's shirt. You load Christina's shirt. You load the file on your embroidery machine and you stitch Christina. Then that's done. You open up the file for Lily. You load Lily's shirt into your hoop, and you're ready to stitch Lily's shirt. And all of these are in the center origin, so you should be centering your placement location of your shirt. So hopefully that makes sense. It is really hard to kind of describe without visuals of that. I should have taken some pictures, but hopefully that makes sense. Now, name drop is a feature in Perfect Embroidery Pro. So let's talk about, I don't have name drop. So what's an easy way to create multiple names in either one file or in multiple files? Okay. So if you're wanting to create them in multiple files, after the creation of every single name, I would do file and save as and save the next one. Okay. But let's talk about stacking them up all in one. So if I want to keep this formatting for this text, I'm going to copy and paste this exact name, copy, paste, and it pastes right on top of the other one. And I know that because I can see them over here in my sequence view. I'm going to change the color of the second one so that we have something that we can see different. So there's my orange one and my blue one. So I'm going to just select the orange one, and then let's just change that to Gloria and click apply. Okay. And now you can see this is left aligned. And remember, we want them all to be center if we're using one file. But again, I can copy and paste the next one, and then I can change that name to whatever the next person is and click apply. Okay. And then maybe you want to change that color as well, so you get the color stops. Now, all of these are left aligned, but if I select them all, I can just use the center align, and that's going to put every name stacked on top of each other in the center. Now, it's much quicker to be able to enter into your name drop list because you can just enter the name, enter, enter, enter. But if you don't have this feature, then you certainly could just copy and paste each text, because notice when I look at Shelly or Gloria or either Christina, notice my settings are all the same. Okay, so when I've copied and pasted that exact text, I don't have to re-enter these particular settings. So my size was the same. We didn't change the spacing, but all of my properties are still there. Now, if you are going to save all of these individually, Perfect Embroidery Pro, which you don't really need because you've got name drops, but you can choose a save as and click selection only. But the selection only is only part of Perfect Embroidery Pro. So if you are saving in another program, what I would probably do is change every single name. Each time. Okay. So I'm going to make sure this is in the center file, or I'm sorry, I select it. I right mouse click on my ruler bar and say center of origin. Okay. Now we want to save Christina. File, save as. We're going to choose our embroidery machine format and we're going to click save for Christina. Okay. So now we want to do Gloria and apply and file, save as PES or whatever your file format is, and then this is Gloria, and click save. So every time you change the name, you would then save each file individually if you want to do that and don't have name drop. So you can certainly see how name drop would be helpful and a lot quicker. Okay, so now before we go on, now I'm going to show you how to use this if you have a design that you want to put with the text. So I'm just going to use one of the built-in text designs. These little text designs here are little miniature designs, which are really great for embellishing text or small left chest logos, things like that. And I'm going to use, there is either that baseball one. I think that would be cute. This golf one would be a good one. And actually any of these. So let's use this hockey one here. And so I'm going to show you how to work with a design and a name with name drops after we take a break. So let's see if we have any questions before we do that segment. And then we're going to talk about using a little design. And then after that, I'm going to talk about having multiple text on the screen and what you have to do to make name drop work with multiple text objects. So, and then Linda says, do I have to do it manually for each name? So Linda, if you have Perfect Embroidery Pro, you can use the name drops feature and just type in a list of names. If you have an Excel file, you can also import that in, which I will show you that coming up here in just a bit. If you don't have Perfect Embroidery Pro, then you would create each of the name files as we just saw me do on the screen. So, and then Sandra Martinez says, so you can send all of the names in their file to your machine at once. Yes, if you have one embroidery file with all of the names stacked up on top of each other, then you can send those all to the embroidery machine in that one file. And then if you're working with a single needle embroidery machine, you know, the color, if you change for a color stop, that if you change each name to a different color, that is essentially going to force your machine to stop because it thinks it wants a different color thread. And so that's going to make sure that it doesn't just keep stitching through all the names. Okay. If you're on a multi-needle embroidery machine, you'll have to go in and put the stops before each of the names so that the machine will stop, because multi-needles, no matter what colors, it's just going to automatically change the threads to change to a different needle to stitch a different color thread. So, and then most often I am using the kerning or the space lettering. How do I do that whenever I'm using the name drop? So the kerning, if you use the space option over in the properties, Linda, it should maintain your properties that we have over there. Just like we set the size to 0.65, you can set the space to a negative number. It's when you do the kerning on screen, the individual letters, that I don't think it maintains that, but we'll test it when I go back over there. That's actually a really good question. So I love that. Okay, so I was just looking back and see if we have other questions. So Patty says, how can I tell if my software has this feature? So I upgraded to Toolshed Plus, but I don't see it in my list. So Patty, this feature is only in Perfect Embroidery Pro. So if you want to check if you have a feature, then just going to the location that I'm showing it, a lot of times will show you. Or just ask. That might be the easiest way because I know it gets very confusing. So, but Embroidery Toolshed Plus does not have name drops. Perfect Embroidery Pro is the only program that has name drops, but you can create a file with multiple names in it, just the way that I showed, by copying and pasting on the screen and changing the text. So that does work in your Embroidery Toolshed Plus. So really good question. Okay, so I was just looking to see if we have any others. So, and then, oh, and she's reiterating that she's asking about kerning. Yes, Linda, I'll show you that when we go back into the software. And then would the machine not stop at each name on the list, even if it doesn't change the color? It depends on your machine. And so if it is separate color chips in the software, even if they're the same color, then yes, it would stop. But it just depends on your machine and which machine you're using. If your machine combines colors, the way it was saved in the software, things like that. But if it's all one color, and they're stacked on top of each other, and the machine would just keep stitching if it's all one single color, because it just sees it all as one design. So make sure that you are choosing that correctly so that it stops where you need it to. You could always do a test. So if you've never done that before, do a test. Just put two names, stack them on top of each other, and play around with your machine. Getting to know your machine is is such an important part of us getting our designs just like we want them, right? So and then Amy Van Horenbeck, maybe. I'm horrible with names. This is a nice, especially if you're doing something for baseball cheer teams. Yes, absolutely. You can upload name files, and some spellings is questionable when it comes to a name. That is so true. And if somebody else created the file, then that's going to mean that when you're importing it, you're doing it just as they are saying it as well. So and then and actually, you know what, I think maybe I'm thinking of, so I think actually, let's see, I think name drop is in Word Art and Stitches. So let's double check that. So let's go over here and answer Linda's question about the kerning. And then I'm going to switch my software here. I have a way that I can just double check. I'm going to go to Word Art and Stitches. And when Amy just asked about the Word Art and Stitches, that made me think that I think that it is, yes. So I'm sorry, name drop is in PEP and Word Art and Stitches. So, which makes sense because Word Art and Stitches is all about lettering. So correction. Hopefully if you started at the beginning, you're still here in order to hear me say that name drop is in Word Art and Stitches and Perfect Embroidery Pro. Okay, so now I'm just going to go back to my Perfect Embroidery Pro as the default. And let's talk about the kerning. As Linda was saying, I'm going to choose a font that we can see that kerning on. And whoops, let me go to a different one. I'm trying to force the letters to be a little bit further apart so that we can really test. Okay, so let's try Philly. Oh, that's a good one. Okay, look at this text here. And so you can see how it's spaced further apart. Now, with your text tool selected, these little individual arrows here will allow you to move your letters closer together so that they are essentially touching like cursive. And that's like it's an on-screen kerning, or we call follow along kerning, because it pulls all the letters with you. And so you can see that we have used that to make the text a little bit more attractive. The spacing is based on a square box around the letter. So especially when you got an italics like this, the spacing looks off, but the software is really doing the equal spacing, but it's just weird how it works. Okay, so now let's well, and actually I'm going to reset it. Here's another tip. On your text, when you see all of these little shapes around here, if you want to go back to the original text, how it originally comes in, you can actually reset it. So you have to have your text tool selected, and then you can go to this reset option here, and you can see that it went back to exactly how we had it. Now, this may not be the best example, but we're going to try it anyway. So the spacing over here, you can put in a negative number. So I'm going to put in -5 and click apply and see if that does, but it looks like we still need a little more. So let's do a -10. And that's the spacing between the letters. And see, this particular text here is going to definitely cause an issue one way or the other, because I would want this here to be moved, but I don't think it's going to maintain this. Let's try. I could be wrong. Let's try. Okay. And every name too would be different. Okay. So if I go to tools and name drop, you can see that it brings it in, and it didn't maintain that kerning there. And then let's just preview each of these. And you can see Lily is not, and Gloria, it looks like it does on screen as well. But you can see that these down here are working. Okay, so now let's close this out. And so it worked down to the bottom here because it's taking from our properties over on the right. But it's when we do that on-screen kerning, those individual letters, that it doesn't keep that in the name drops. Okay, so let's choose a different font so we can do a little bit further testing here. So let me go back up to, say, Kaufman. Okay, so, and that is really close together. So let's drop that down to, well, let's drop it to 0 and just see what it looks like without any. And that actually looks pretty good. So, and normally I test this before I come on screen, but because the question was asked, I didn't know that I was going to have to test it. Okay, so that one is, they're all good. You know, wouldn't you know it? We're just going to have to force something, I think. So, let's try this one. And that one looks okay, but we've got a couple of spaces here between the O and the R. So let's just do here like a -5 and click apply. And that squished too much up here, but let's still do our test. So name drops, and you can see that this is closer together here because you can see our S and our T are touching. So it is working whenever you change the spacing over here. It's keeping these settings. So whenever you're doing the on-screen kerning, that's what it could not maintain because every letter is different. So the problem with this, the challenge, is that every single name is different. So here's what I might do if I am working with this font and these particular names. So I might for sure create my single file so I don't have to go and do this for every single name. And then over here in my settings, if I just hide with the little eyeball here, I'm just going to hide each one, and then I would need to adjust that individually. So I'm trying to like think as we're talking here, and I really cannot think of another way because every single word is going to be different depending on which letters are in the name. Okay, so I really don't know of how that's going to be, how you'll be able to do that without correcting each one. So, and so then you would just adjust each one, and then we could turn this one off and turn the next one on. And then, ooh, Lily, it made a mess. And so then you might want to take all of the kerning off of Lily, and so forth and so on. But that is maybe how I would handle that. But anything that you set in these properties over here is what it's going to remember, not when you do, like manual adjustments with the on-screen or follow along kerning, which are these little handles here between your text. So hopefully that helps. So, and I see Laura says, what is kerning? So kerning is changing the distance between the letters. And so when you want them closer together, you can use these little tools here to move them closer together. So that's what you're doing when we're talking about kerning, is the distance between each of your letters. Now, sometimes you might have a text that comes in that looks great, but then sometimes we just want to change the distance between one letter or the starting letter, whatever it might be, or like these right here. So I might like this to line up right on top of this, so it looks like it continues on. So then I can just slightly adjust those just like that. Okay. All right. So now that we figured that out, that was a really good question, Linda. And I definitely know that Linda always has some good questions. She uses her software a ton. Okay, now let's talk about if you have a little design on the screen. Okay, so I'm going to choose, let's go back to our text tool here. And I'm just going to scroll down these are our text designs. These are built into Perfect Embroidery Pro. And this is just like little hockey pucks. And say you're doing this for a team, okay? And you want the team name and this design or this logo centered over the name. So with name drop, you're going to select both of them, and it brings the design in as the decor and the name in so that you can apply the name drops. Okay. So I had one extra name there. So I'm going to delete Shelly. Okay. So we're going to select everything on the screen so you can click and drag a box around it. And I'm going to now go to tool and name drops. Okay. So now you can see it brought in my design and it's got the name and it remembered my name list. Okay. So the decor, these are the settings over here. So this little design here, that's what it's referring to, is whatever design you have on the screen is the decor. And the decor align, you can have it be to the left of your names, to the right of your names. And whenever you click preview, you can see that. Top, bottom, and it is centering it, or if you choose center, it'll put it right through the logo, which you might actually like. And this logo might actually be cute if we made it bigger. Okay. And then you can also change the scale of the decor. So let's look at that bigger. And so that's what I mean by the name going through right through the center. Okay. Now let's talk about importing names from an Excel file. So just as you guys mentioned, if you have a file that is given to you because it's a bunch of team names, I would much rather import them than type them all in. Okay. So I created a file for us to work with. So this is just Excel. And then you just save the file. When you get it, it'll probably be an Excel file, but then you're going to save that file as a comma delimited version format. Okay. So CSV. So choose CSV from the drop down, give it a name and save that file. I already have that one. It's just saying, do I want to replace it? And I'm going to say yes. Okay. So now to bring those names in, all I do is click import. I locate that file on my computer, and I think I put that under my desktop. So let's go here. Yep, there it is. And I click open and it populates a first and a last name because that's how I had it in the Excel spreadsheet with all of those lines. And I didn't have to type all that in. Okay. Now I had a lot of fun with these names. So, so let's preview. So I've got my names listed out here: Sandy Summer, Justin Time, Gene Poole, Rose Bush, my favorite, Marshmallow. Yes, I have a weird sense of humor, but you can see how each one that I click on, I can also preview to see what it's going to look like. Okay. And let's move it to the bottom. And actually, I think the other way. I think I would rather it at the top, the decor at the top. And then I'm going to drop my decor back down to 100 because if it's going to be above my name, it's probably going to be a little bit smaller. So, and so that's how you can use an Excel file. If someone gives you that Excel file, you can import it to bring the names in, and then you don't have to type all these things in. So it's just merely an import, and you need a comma delimited CSV file, and that's going to bring everything in. The export, if you type them all in here, you can export them to an Excel spreadsheet so that you can save this list whenever you're done with this design, and maybe you don't have to type them in again. And then the reset is basically going to take all of our names away and start from the very beginning. So, which, hey, no big deal, right? Because we imported them from our file, so I can put them right back there. Okay, so now the next thing I want to share with you is what if you have more than one text file. Okay, so let's create these in one file and then click create, and you'll see them all stacked on one another. Now, this file here, because it's got the green, the silver, and the red, After each one of these, my machine definitely will stop because it'll want me to put in the green, the silver, and then the red, and these are grouped together, so green, silver, red, and so then it's going to stop and I can, rehoop and put each one of these different shirts on, stitching the same name every time. Now, some of this may bother some of you because you really can't see the names, and I know a lot of us at our machine, we want to see what's stitching, but my machine does show the next color and what it stitches, so even though this design would be all piled on top of each other, I would be able to see that next part individually that's stitching. So, okay, so hopefully that helps you and it'll save a lot of time. Now, one last thing to know is let's bring in, so on Thursday, Eileen's going to talk about tips on hooping multiples. And she's going to be using a little makeup bag that is a round makeup bag. And I think I have that file saved somewhere. But actually, let's do something different. I have a different tip for you. Okay, so we've already done load backdrop, right? And I was actually going to do that again, but we don't even have to do that. The little round bags that she's using, we can just make a template. So it's a bag similar to this, okay? And so I just measured it with my quilting ruler. It's a 6-inch circle, okay? And so let's just make a circle as our template, okay? So I'm going to use my ellipse tool. If I drag my ellipse tool, you can see I can make an oval or a circle. And so if I want it to be a perfect circle, all I have to do is hold down my shift key. Okay, so it'll make a perfect circle. And then let's select that and let's enter our 6 inches so that we know we've got it the right size. And remember my tip, double click the zoom tool and it'll bring it onto your work surface. Okay, so now this design is created with text and 2 different types of text. So this is Gloria's. This is going to be a bag of tricks, and this would be like, say you've got to stitch multiples for bridesmaids gifts or something like that. So we're going to have several different text objects. So one of the requests at the end of the year was combining different types of text. Okay, if you want to use different types of text, you just start a new text design. So we click our text tool, and we're going to click again. And then this is going to be bag of, and I'm going to click apply. And then that allows us to have a completely different text type here for this particular, these words, okay? And so let's do it again. So we could either copy and paste, or we could click on the workspace again and then do a different text. So this is going to be tricks. And click apply. And then now let's change that font. Okay, so just to a different type of font, whatever you want it to be. Now look right here. So then our T is overlapping our R. So I might use my kerning option here to space that out a little bit. Okay, and it has to do with how the text are. And so not everyone is going to be the exact same with every single letter. Okay, so now let's change our colors here. So the bag that we were working on was a darker color. So I'm just going to change. I just did a, I think a red and a pink, and this was white, but maybe we'll do black since we're on a white background. And now let's just change our text. So then I usually just line these up. So I'm going to select all of my text objects, and I'm going to use the distribute evenly option, and it'll space out each of my items. And then I can also center them by using my centering tools, or if I want them left aligned, however you want them. Okay. And here, let's just look at the different types of text. I actually kind of like that cursive, so we'll leave that. This, I would choose something that is kind of a print text. And so I'm just going to scroll down here and look at my options. Oh, that's only uppercase, and I have upper and lower, so I'm just going to choose something different. I could change to all upper, which is fine, but it looks like everything I like is both upper and lowercase. So, and so there we go. I think that's kind of cute, right? And then with the tricks, I kind of like that font style, and I think they go together, but you certainly could change it to something different if you want. So scrolling down through your font options and then just choose one, see what it's going to look like. So let's see what that looks like. Ooh, that's kind of cute too. I like that. We'll leave that one. Okay, so now with this one, I'm going to use a design from the Cut and Stitch software. Remember, I can use all of my designs together because of Embroidery Tool Shed. And so if I go to the Valentine, these little lips here, and this is just an artwork file. And so I could either leave it artwork and cut it out of, say, HTV or something like that, or I could convert it to embroidery. So I'm going to do a right mouse click, convert to a complex fill. So now I've created a design. And then the text here, I'm just going to kind of arc this up a little bit. Whoops, let me do an undo. Let's go back to our text tool to do this. And you can see I get a different set of handles. So I'm going to use this just to kind of arc it to go above my lips there. Maybe a little bit more, smidge more. Kind of like that. That's cute. Okay. Now, whenever you are using name drops, so any text object, and what I mean by text objects is over here in my sequence view, you can see I have text object for tricks, text object for bag of, and then a text object for the name. You want just the name to come in, but you want to keep the other designs on the screen so that it makes each design for you. So what you can do is break up text, okay? Break up text makes this look like a regular embroidery design and not a text object. So if I select one of these, right mouse click and say break up text, look over here in my sequence view, you can see that now it does not say it's a text object. It's just a design that's going to stitch out. Now I'm going to group all of those together. I'm going to select all of those and just say right mouse click and group, or you can click your group icon. And then the same thing here on tricks. I'm going to right mouse click and say break up text. Now, this is just kind of a hack because your name drop is going to want to change bag of, it's going to want to change tricks. It's going to want, you to put in something for each of those. And this way, when I select this design, it sees the only thing as text as Gloria. Okay. So now tools, name drop. And you can see that it's got all of our old names in there, Sandy Summer and Paige Turner. I'm going to just delete all their last names and just leave all those first names. And then we can click preview on any of them. And you can see that it has changed the name there. So, and because I don't have the apostrophe, so we'd have to make sure to go in and put each of those. Okay. So I'm not going to do every one. And then make sure that you've got it because right now it's Bag of Tricks page. So we want to make sure that it is at the bottom. And then there we go. And now when you say create the file, you can create them all as one file, or you can create them as individual files. So let's get a just like 4 names here and talk about how you could also space these. So I'm just going to say to create one file. Okay, now they're all on top of one another and these are all centered. So now what you could do is you could separate these files out if you are hooping, and you'll see Eileen work on this on Thursday. If you are hooping 4 bags in one hoop, you may want them spaced out in this manner. Okay. And now once you load this onto your machine, of course, you'd have to move each design to make sure it was positioned over each bag, but that's another option for saving and sending to the machine. So what do you guys think? So I know that was a lot with name drops, but I want to reiterate, since I messed up earlier, name drops in Word Art and Stitches and Perfect Embroidery Pro. But certainly if you just need to save multiple names and files, then you could see how we did that. And then also for those of you that really didn't want to do name drops, then we did some tips here on working with your different types of text. So if you want different types of text, make separate text objects so you can change those different styles in your font list. So hopefully that helps. And then Linda says, I'm headed over here to Linda's comment. She said, why was bag of tricks multiplied? So, well, it's the design. So bag of tricks was the actual design itself. And so I brought in the entire design so that it would maintain the same orientation. Because if I had just done the names, Linda, and I did not select the bag of tricks and the lips, then it would have just stacked my names, and then I would have had to put each name with each design. And so I just did it this way so each design was together. Now, if you want to load one design and then load in each of the file names, that's another thing that you could do, certainly right at your machine. So, and then Eileen says she can't wait to try it. Good. I can't wait. I know Eileen uses her software a ton as well. So, okay. So let me just check here. I was just looking if we had any other questions. So, and then Linda was answering the question there for Laura as well. And then just looking at some of the other questions there. And then Patty says on the Coca-Cola font, where the capital C overlap the H, can you reduce the stitching that overlaps? So you can break up that text and then manually remove those. So by breaking up the text is just like we did in this example here. That allows you to see the text object just as regular embroidery. And once it's regular embroidery, you could actually delete some of those stitches if you wanted the overlap. But what I probably would do is just adjust the one letter so that that little curved part is either above or below. And that is a really easy example too. So if I go back and let's just answer that question there for Patty. So if we did, I think it was Christina. And I'm going to choose the Coca-Cola font so that it looks, it has that little part that goes underneath, just like that. Okay. And so if you don't want that to look like that, then what I would do is just select the one letter, this letter here, and you could either make this larger or move it up. So that might be something to do so that you can, have that one letter, the little top go over. I'm trying to select just the one letter and then move it. And every time I touch something, it moves the wrong thing. There we go. And so that might be something that you like. Or if you don't want it to be larger, I'm going to do a reset. This little overlapped area right here, if you break up text, then you could go in and delete those stitches underneath if you wanted. So, but I will tell you, satin stitches are kind of forgiving when they're stitching over top of everything because it's not like fill stitches. And so really, to me, I would just stitch that as it is, but you certainly could go in there using your shape tool and you could delete and cut out parts of your stitches. That's entirely up to you. But you can also just adjust one letter if you wanted to as well. So that it goes over top, underneath, whatever that particular font does. So hopefully that helps, Patty. There's always a way. Like if there's something you want to do, there's a way. There's a way. It may take a lot of playing and a lot of, working and figuring out, but there's always a way. So, okay. So, then, is that Shazia? Shazia said, I'd missed how you saved this to your machine. So under the file save format, you can choose your embroidery machine format there. If you save it in all the multiple files, each one will have that file extension. If you save it where they're stacked on top of one another, it's just going to be one file with that format. So, and then Dina says, if you have first and last names, how do you do a single or a two-line text? So, that was a great question. So if we go back in, it is all about how the file starts, Dina, I'm pretty sure. So let's try that really quick before we go. Let's put a name. And so we're going to put know a lot because, hey, we all know a lot, right? And so let's just choose a regular kind of text. Not that one. Arial is fine. Okay. And then whenever you click tool and name drop, it's keeping that format. So let's do Noah and lot, and let's see what happens. We may have to put it all in the A column. Yeah. So then I would do like this and take that out. So I would put it all in that one line there if you want them all on top of each other, because it looks like, and I don't have any settings to make that break up preview. So even though I have it on one line on the screen, it's pulling it in on a two separate lines. And so then I wonder if we push none here. Nope. So it's still doing it on two separate lines. So I just put them all in the same box there. So all in the same cell. First and last name, same cell, and then space in between it, and it would remember it. So that's a great question. I didn't even test that. So I love that. Okay, awesome. So really good question. So can the list of names be ongoing, or is it one and done? No. So if you were going to do ongoing, then I would save the Excel file, and then you could keep adding to the Excel file. That's what I would do. It does remember this file whenever you open it back up. So like if we go back into it now, but once you save the file, and go away, that list, it's probably going to be reset. So by keeping track of the names in an Excel file sheet, that's really, I think, the easiest and the fail-safe way to do it. So really good question. So, all right. So I just made a couple of notes here that I obviously need to fix, because I had our name drop only in Perfect Embroidery Pro. So here I'm going to go and I'm going to fix this for the future, because I should know better. Okay. And so these are the features. We didn't use a ton of different features today. We were really just working with our text. And so the name drop and PEP and WordArt, and then built-in text. We have lots of programs with built-in text, and you can use different types of text to get that different look that we talked about by using different font types. And you also can use your true type fonts. So these programs here, let me back up. These programs here are have the option to convert your true type to satin text, which is what we use. And so the satin text object option for your true type font is another way to have like an extremely long list of text options. And PEP, WordArt and Stitches, Cut and Stitch, and SFX Special Effects has that option as well. So so make sure that you check your software. If you do not own one of the software that we're talking about today and you want to play with it, you can always try it in the shopping cart. There's a try option for every single piece of software over there. So you can play with the software completely, just to mimic or to duplicate what we've done today. So, and then Christy Kale says, what activates the alignment tools? You have to have two objects on the screen for the alignment tools to be active. So at least two objects, something to actually align with the other object on the screen. So you're really good questions. Okay, so in 2 weeks, is it 2 weeks or is it more than 2 weeks? Whatever. February the 4th, I will see you guys for Software Success again. This was another request from a viewer at the end of the year last year about a topic, and they wanted to work with mixed media. So I'm going to start with embroidery with HTV, and then we'll also talk about Mylar, because that's a different type of media as well. And so in February, the 1st and the 3rd Tuesday of every month is when we have Software Success. And so February the 4th, the first Tuesday, I'll talk about mixed media. So we'll talk about how to create a design for HTV. And also I can talk about creating designs for Mylar as well. And we have some specialty software that does that automatically, but I'll also show other software if you don't have those automatic features, how you can do these things as well. So yay! Make sure that you join me in a couple of weeks. If you want to purchase any of the programs, as always, we have them on our Dime Facebook, our Dime website, dzgns.com. But also check out your local store or a brick and mortar store that you support. It doesn't necessarily have to be your local one. If you've got a favorite brick and mortar store that's a Dime dealer, talk to them. Also support them, support your brick and mortar dealers. So it's very important for them to be there for you, and then also it's another avenue for support for your software. So okay guys, so thank you as always for joining me, and I hope you guys learned something today. And don't forget to join Eileen on Thursday 1 p.m. Central. She'll be stitching out and giving you tips for stitching those designs on multiple items. So until the next Software Success, I will see you guys later. Thanks for being here.